All right, in this video I'm going to show you how to make a pinch pot. So the first thing you're going to do is take your cube of clay and you're going to push down those corners and get this into a nice ball. You might start to see some of the clay folding over. That's okay, just keep compressing it down until you've got a nice sphere. You want to make sure that all of these little lines here are gone, because what will happen is as we take this and turn it into a pinch pot, those lines will separate from each other and create a crack. So you want to make sure that those lines are nowhere to be seen on your clay sphere and that you've got a nice, clean, even looking ball of clay. Then what you're going to do is we're going to make a hole for your pinch pot. So this will be the opening. So you're going to take your thumb, you're going to press it down right in the center of your clay. You don't want to go all the way to the bottom. You want to leave about a ½ inch, maybe a little bit more than ½ inch, so you're not sticking your thumb all the way through. Now I always like to put my hand underneath so that I can feel if my thumb starts to go too far. Then what you're going to have is a nice little opening, and then what we're going to do is what's called the pinching technique, where you keep your thumb inside all the way down to the bottom, and then you're just going to start to pinch and pull up. And so if your clay is soft enough, it should start to expand that opening. And all I'm doing, say this is the inside wall of the clay, is I'm taking my thumb and I'm pinching and pulling up like this. So I'm pulling the clay up and rotating my clay as I do this. And your goal when making a pinch pot is that you get an even wall thickness all the way around. You want about ½ inch or thinner. Anything thicker than that is going to be way too heavy. And what you're going to notice is that these are going to look real ugly at first. They're going to have fingerprints in them. They're going to look kind of wobbly. That's okay. You'll be able to clean them up later. One thing that you're going to notice is that the top is going to get real thin. So I keep stopping my thumb right about here so that the top doesn't get too thin. This is what's called the lip around the top. And if you start to notice that you're going to get cracks and things like here, around here, that's okay. Just add a little bit of water around the edge, smooth over those cracks. That will get rid of it. Something else you want to do, you can see that mine's getting real thin around here. You can take your pinch pot and whatever surface you're working on, turn it upside down and just kind of lightly tap it. And it's going to start to get that to where it's not so thin at the top. So that's one thing you want to be really careful about. A lot of people's pinch pots will get really thin as they get towards the top and the lip will get uneven. So you just have to be careful about that. And again, I'm not pulling all the way past. I'm stopping just a little short of that lip. And depending on what your pinch pot is going to be made into or what you want your pinch pot to look like, you may want to expand the lip out and make it wider, or you can keep it to where it's about the same width as the middle, or you can keep it really, really small. If you want to keep the opening small, you have to be careful that you don't pull out too far. So you're just pulling up. And then what you could do is if you want to have a more kind of bulbous shape that kind of goes out a little bit more, is you can just kind of press out with your thumb a little bit more and start to expand, but I'm not pressing out towards the lip. And so depending on what you're doing with your design, you may have to adjust how you're pinching, but again, it's not really pinching like this. It's more taking your thumb and pulling the clay up. So kind of pushing in and pulling the clay up. And you're rotating as you're doing this. And the goal for this is that you have an even thickness on all of your walls. One thing to look out for, a lot of students tend to have really thick bases. So you just want to be careful that the bottom isn't too thick as well. And so I think I've got my general shape. Again, it looks kind of messy. There's bumps all over. Doesn't really look nice and clean. So what you want to do after you've got the general shape of what you want your pinch pot to look like, height, width, all that, then what you're going to do is you're going to start to smooth out the surface of this and kind of clean it up a little bit. So again, I'm going to turn this over, tap it very lightly on my table, start to get that lip thickness a little more even. I can see right here it's getting a little thin, so I'm just going to take the clay, kind of push it over from the thicker part. And if your clay is relatively soft, this should be something easy for you to do. If you notice that your clay is cracking a lot, maybe spray some water on it, put some water on it, let the water soak in for, 5 minutes, and then start or continue pinching again. And so if your lip is part of your design and you want that to look nice and even, I would do that during this phase right now. So after you've got it and it's pinched the way you like it, again, you want to have the thickness of your walls even all the way through. So what I do is I take my 2 fingers and I kind of start at the bottom and I slowly slide them all the way up. And if I feel that my fingers are doing this as I'm going up my pinch pot, that means I need to even things out a little bit more. But if as I'm sliding them up, they feel pretty even, like they're staying the same space away from each other the entire time, which that feels like what I've got right now, then I know my pinch pot is a good thickness. And so now I'm just going to kind of spend my time cleaning this up. If you're going to be able to see the inside of your pinch pot when your project is done, I would definitely clean up the inside. You can do this just using your finger and kind of smoothing things out on the inside. So after you make the general shape of your pinch pot, you really want to take some time to clean this up and smooth it out. So that's what I'm going to do now. Again, making sure that the lip is all the same thickness. This is a little bit thicker of a pinch pot. You could definitely go thinner than this. And then I need to clean up the outside a little bit too. So you can do that with your thumb. In class, we use paddles. You can roll it on the table very gently. Start to get rid of some of those big bumps. In class, what we do is we use a paddle. So let me grab one real quick. Oops, we actually don't have any out. But since you guys don't have paddles, which are just like wooden paddles at home, you can use something like this. So this flat part of your tool to start to paddle this down. And what you're going to notice is that it's going to start to get rid of some of those bumps. So I'm keeping my hand underneath to support the clay. And I'm just hitting it on this top surface. You don't want to really hit it in this center circle part, because what will happen is you'll start to get little circles all over. So try to just focus on hitting it right at the top right there. And you can start to really shape this and paddle it down a little easier than if you were just doing it with your fingers. And again, you should try to do this right after you get the general shape of what you want. And just know that because the clay is still relatively wet, this is going to stretch a little bit too. So you have to be careful when you're holding this not to let it stretch out. All right, looks like I'm going to paddle the bottom a little bit too. So if you're going to keep the base of yours rounded, because that's how it works with your design, you want to make sure that you paddle that down so it's got a nice rounded base. If you're going to flatten your base, say you don't want it to have this kind of rounded shape, you want it to be flat on the end, all you need to do is take your pinch pot and have it so it's face up like this, get it level. I like to get eye level with it. And then you just take it and you lightly tap it on the table. And that will start to flatten the bottom of your pinch pot. So depending on if you want it rounded or flattened, that's what you'll do. And then you just want to spend your time cleaning this up, getting it looking nice and smooth. Make sure the lip, if the lip is going to be seen, you want to try to get it the same thickness all the way around, because that's something that can start to look really messy at first. So in the next video, I will show you a few tricks to get your lip nice and even if you would like to see that.